Welcome, folks, to the latest episode of Sorcery Shenanigans. I am your DM, Wayne, and this is your crew.
Here we are.
Now, straight off the bat, we'll address one thing. Darren has decided to no longer take part in anything Pubcast related or Sorcery Shenanigans related. So we wish him all the best. We're going to keep on keeping on, as this has been a lot of fun for ourselves. So we're going to keep doing it. But all the best to Darren. Hope whatever he does next, he has a blast. But we're just going to jump straight in. We are in the offices of Dublin City Comics. We are actually in like all this stuff. This is like, it's gorgeous, like. And they very kindly gave us this location. We're kind of like the traveling
Wilburys.
Daleburys.
It's the traveling D&D group because we've recorded.
We are an adventuring party.
Yes,
Taking
quite
over
literally.
taverns.
Travel to go and get where we want to be playing our Dungeons and Dragons. But we have come here to the Dublin City Comics office to record the latest episode. And they very kindly gave up this space to kind of, but we look, it's just all this cool shit just all around us. It's amazing.
I'm absolutely going to get distracted looking at cool shit.
All this stuff behind me. I don't know if you can see it on the feed, but like there's a rake of like action figures and stuff in cases. So you're kind of seeing behind the curtain at Dublin City Comics because this
Does Dublin City Comics do collectibles?
they do.
And
Dublin City
comics.
and collectibles. So yeah, our sponsors.
Do they have a website?
They
They
do
have,
have a website.
they have so many cool things in here, which we're not allowed to touch, Doc. Right?
Yeah.
We're not touching.
If you break it, you buy it. So yeah, DublinCityComics.ie are our sponsors, and they very kindly allowed us to use this space where they use for kind of gaming amongst some of the clientele. And here we are. So without further ado, we're going to jump in. We've mentioned our sponsors, so we've done that.
Yeah.
So let's do a quick recap of the previous session and where we found ourselves so far. So in the last session, the group kind of were tasked with investigating the power outages within the city. And you found yourselves traveling underground, deep underground, to find the source.
He's trolling us now.
I know. My head is already going.
No, we know.
I'm going deeper underground.
There's definitely a Godzilla in here.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's a Godzilla in here somewhere. I don't know if it's actually Zilla, but it's definitely a Godzilla somewhere.
Yeah.
See if you can find it out in the background, folks.
Where's Godzilla?
Where is Godzilla? But yes, you've traveled deep underground to find the source of the problem. You did find what you think is the source of the problem. You found a large, mutated gargantuan mimic that seemed to be hooked into supply power to this floating city in the void. And you discovered some individuals feeding it seemingly cursed dead bodies in order to corrupt the gargantuan mimic into doing whatever they wanted, seemingly.
Kind of like hotboxing a cat. Wait, it's not. It's not like that. Sorry, it's not like that at all.
And you put a stop to them. And as the fight came to an end, you were interrupted by an individual who identified themselves eventually as Leskar. And she is seemingly investigating the confliction that you both seem to be stuck with now, because when Gray put the killing blow on the individual that was feeding, yeah, Gray's all tatted up because when you killed the individual who was trying to curse the mimic, their tattoos transferred to you. So the two adventuring members of the party now are both suffering from this curse. Leskar also showed that they are suffering from this curse and have been investigating it with somebody they'd met along the way, an individual called Kurith Penavath. You then agreed to bring Leskar back to the ship, where you would recuperate and take it easy for a couple of days, because you had agreed with the individuals Cog and Sprocket that you were going to enter into a local event on their behalf
Yeah.
in order to help them out of some trouble. And that's where we find ourselves now on the ship 2 days later.
Okay, so we've had a long rest.
Yeah. Just room bits here.
Yeah.
2 days later, you've had your long rest, and you are waking up in the morning. What individually you can be together, or you can be here by yourselves, or you can be together as a group. But we're gonna go with the two of you. Where do you want to start this off? Like, Gray, where are you? Where do you find yourself on the ship at this point?
Right. So, At some point, I know I'm going to have to do the porpoise race from the Mighty Boot. So I'm I'm talking around. So we have a lot of people on this ship, and we've spoken to a few of them about very specific business. But what I might do until we actually have to leave is go and talk to somebody interesting just for the sake of it. So we had how is Carabash doing? What is Carabash doing?
So you obviously rise from the morn and you kind of step out onto the deck, and it's still hustle and bustle even though the ship is in port and it's decked. You see the crew are busy resupplying the ship, and there's cargo coming onto the ship, cargo going off the ship. You see food supplies being brought in, and standing kind of halfway up the deck, guiding the groups back and forth, you see Carabash. You also notice as you look around, step onto the deck, that the in between all the hustle and bustle out onto the port, you notice that the entirety of the port now has been adorned with what looks like bunting and different coloured flags that seem to represent different ships all along it. So large poles have been erected, and you have these kind of like standards of each crew have been erected along the port, leading into the city along the streets. It's a bright and colourful affair, and you can see that there are some enchantments around these standards, kind of highlighting some of them. And you have crew bustling back and forth. Some of them are looking up and they're pointing at certain ones. You can see they're having conversation. Carabash seems to be ignoring all this, and he's directing crew back and forth. Where are you standing? Are you standing just coming out of your cabin onto the deck?
Cabin. I've been doing just fine. And if I go to talk to him, do I distract him, do you think? Or would he be able to talk to me as well?
It's totally up to yourself. If you want to go talk to him, go talk to him.
Yeah, I want to go talk to Carabash.
He sees you approach, he kind of gives you a nod, and he's kind of directing crew, and some of them are coming up and he's signing pieces of parchment, and he's sending people on the way. He's like, "Well met, good morning. I trust you slept well."
Oh, yeah. Really well. I needed that, to be honest. How are you?
Keep busy. I've got word from Spoken that the captain is still comatose, but they're thinking about bringing her on the ship because they're getting quite busy there in the workshop, giving everything. And he kind of gestures out towards the port.
Yeah.
A lot of individuals are asking for grades, kind of the work of an artivist and an enchanter in this kind of situation, given the events.
Yeah.
The race that's going to be taking place, they need as much help as they can get. I'm trying to keep busy. I've noticed you less so, I think you call them, they haven't really left their cabin in about 2 days. Is this... Should I be worried?
Well, I was sleeping for a lot of it, but I think given what Zill has noticed from this condition, it can take a lot out of you. But I think we can go get them when we need them. Are you worried about security?
Always.
Will I check if there's something fishy going on?
I mean, since you're on board, it would be probably necessary to look after them.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about like the Silver Spear's like record in the race and stuff, but I could probably do that later.
Well, the race is not done by the ships.
I know. By the but when I see the banners, they're representing their ships, or yeah. So when Mingnaw's dad had this ship, did he put teams into the race? Did they used to do well?
At the mention of
oh yeah,
the
that's
supreme captain of the pirate fleet.
He probably gets an eyebrow twitch.
There's a bit of a twitch, and he kind of got. The supreme captain tends to steer clear of. Really, Steve. I mean, he had other things to worry about than a jovial race through the city. And if he was here, he'd probably murder everyone and just take the spoil.
Yeah, good point. Okay, no morale.
Not really a sporting type. Obviously,
so
I'm not here. I'm still in the cabin.
Are you We're putting a team forward, right? Do you have... Yeah, but are you worried about the Silver Spear gaining notoriety when we inevitably win?
Well, essentially, you're not really 100% part of the crew just yet.
Yeah.
So we're more worried about keeping a low profile right now.
So I need to not win?
No, you...
And he kind of looks a bit confused by that. It's,
Kim's really helping this character. My ability to understand information delivered straight to
Gray
me
is just dying
You
to
just have
race.
to play what you know. Just play what you know.
so you've agreed to represent Hog and Sprocket in their endeavours.
Hog and Sprocket, not this ship.
So while we could enter a team if we wished, if you look, and he points at the banners. Our banner's not up there because officially, literally in the last week, have we made it known that this ship is now flying under a different banner.
So,
So you're saying I can win?
Sure. I mean, we can't enter for one reason is that very much we're keeping a low profile, but also the paperwork to actually get into it is a bit... I'm not one for paperwork. It's not
Prohibitively
really,
administrative.
It's the administrative fees alone. I don't think I'd be out of pocket really, and a lot of it. And he looks around the crew, who it's a fine crew, but as you look around, you kind of take some of them in. You realise that maybe they wouldn't be the most nimblest of racers, and some of them seem quite young actually. Give me a perception check, please.
We will do that. $16.
16. You kind of take in the crew, and you notice then as you focus on them more, looking out and further along the deck, kind of a thought comes to your mind. The story you were told of this crew was that they stole the ship from the larger fleet. Captain Mignac kind of cobbled together a crew of people she trusted, and Carabash supported her, and they ran. You realise now for probably the first time that the majority of this crew are very young. There's one or two older sailors here, older kind of hands, the doctor, Carabash, captain, but for the most part they're quite young.
Do I think it's because they're wide-eyed idealists, or that they had nowhere else to go?
It's kind of a mixture of both. So you kind of, as you take all of this in, you start to put the pieces in your head together, and it's like, oh, okay, and it's like, and then Carabash kind of looks a bit sheepishly as he spots you doing this, realizing that this crew are quite young, quite inexperienced, and you're kind of sitting there going, they've put a lot of faith in their captain, and their captain is now unconscious in someone's cellar.
Yeah.
And they're all, with that perception, with a 16 or perception, you can, in some of their eyes, as you look around, you can see there is worry and fear, but they're just getting on with it. Because
do you think a series of zoomies through the streets would help morale?
You don't know. So yeah, like you see then, as more crew kind of start unloading some gear onto the port. You see that they're unloading what seem to have been supplies and stuff, and some of them are emblazoned with logos and crests and shieldings of multitude different types. So it definitely looks like stolen goods from multiple ports that they're offloading.
Ah, the boosted things. Right. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Number one. And number two, I'm going to tell Carabash that I'm just gonna look into a few things, and I could give some kid a wave in the hopes of cheering them up.
You just see the young deckhand who's like hefting large sacks of food towards where the galley would be, and they just kind of give you this look, and they're like,
oh yeah, I'll take that. I'll take it though.
Ziltara, what are you doing?
So I have spent the last couple of days in
Listen to Sisters of Mercy.
Just one song over the last couple of days. Literally, just Temple of Love, maybe 4 times.
Lucretia. So obviously, because I'm drow, I don't sleep. I dream. I don't sleep, but I have been spending the last kind of 24 to 48 hours in deep meditation, trying to recenter myself. I'm kind of, because of the hustle and bustle that is around the ship, and because Gray has left, because we were sharing a cabin, I'm kind of thinking I should go out and see what the crack is. I'm going to stop by Lescar's cabin because haven't seen them in a couple of days, and also want to see how they're faring with their tattoos, because if I remember correctly, we don't know how long they've had them.
Yeah. From the last, when we first met her, some of them actually seem to be faded in parts, but more prominent in others, kind of across their clavicle and up around their neck. And so, because they had, like, each individual design is different.
Yeah.
So, like, and with Grey's in particular, Grey has theirs kind of actually it kind of seems to be in their fur.
Yeah.
So it's kind of becoming part of them, rather, whereas yours is a skin tattoo. Lescar's is a mixture of branding and skin tattoo. So there's a kind of they all seem to have different symbols and different kind of ways of joining with a character, an individual. So yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna come out of the cabin, and my thinking was 2 things that are on my mind for today: check on Lescar and see how Mingna is doing, because she's still over with Cog and Sprocket.
Yeah.
So we either need to, see how she's faring, because I don't know about this conversation, or maybe bring her back to the ship or do something, because So I'm gonna come out of the cabin, go to Lescar's and knock on the door.
Okay. So it's literally the cabin is just around from yours. While you were given a larger cabin, Lescar was given a smaller, less kind of swanky, for a better word. And it's just literally small quarters. You knock on the door and you hear kind of a shuffling behind, and then there's a kind of a bolt is unlatched and the door, and you see an eye peek out, and the eye kind of takes you in, and it's like, oh, and the door swings open. You see Lescar there, still in the same garb you left her in. Looks like she hasn't changed out of her clothes. Hair a bit disheveled, large bags under her eyes. Again, she looked like this when you brought her on the ship, but again, she looks like she hasn't slept still in the 2 days you've been here. And she kind of gestures for you to come in, and is kind of looking shiftily out on the deck to make sure nobody else is with you. It kind of gestures you into the cabin.
I just wanted to check in and see how you're faring. It's been a couple of days since we brought you on board. I'm hoping you've managed to get some rest and that you feel safe here. How are you doing?
And the twitchiness is apparent from the get-go, and as you're talking, your eyes kind of wander around the room, and she's completely murder-walled the entire space in this cabin. Of all of her research that she had previously is now plastered, like, literally around. It's very much Charlie Day trying to find Pepe Silva situation, and she's just like, I honestly, I haven't slept since this whole thing happened. I haven't needed it, but I've managed to keep going. So the kind of the unsteadiness and the twitchiness seems to just be kind of taken over. She looks extremely caffeinated, and you can see as she's laid everything out, she's kind of gesturing behind. She's like, I have laid out my notes once more, and I think there are certain things that we have to investigate locally, and there are some things we have to go elsewhere to find, and I think I'd like to say that haste is of the utmost importance, but clearly you have many things you have to take care of first, and I know this is something that has only landed on you in the last couple of days, and I realise that but I cannot stress the urgency of us investigating this as soon as possible.
Okay, so we also have some things to do ourselves, so there are things that we have to investigate immediately. So you mean here, at this location, there are certain things that we have, or we have to fly somewhere else?
It's called A, column B situation.
Okay, we can eliminate column A. I think I would like for you and I to sit down with Gray and make a plan for those while we're here. I'm also interested, we mentioned our captain, who has the same affliction as us, who has been comatose this last while. I'd like to check on her, and if she is awake, I would like for her to meet you, and for us, I guess, to share our knowledge and see if there are commonalities between the three of us when it comes to this shit. And investigate those items that you said we need to investigate. So how would you feel about doing that?
I am all for thoroughly investigating everything, and of course I would like to meet your captain. Will it require me leaving this cabin?
Well, if we need to go places to investigate, yes, it will require us leaving. But what is your concern if you leave?
Death, really. It's the main concern I have. I realize since I've gotten here and I've laid everything out in my mind, I realize that I'm putting myself and others at great risk if I am out in the world trying to decipher these things. I think it is important that, yes, we figured things out, but if I was to go somewhere, I must wear a disguise of some sort, cover myself up, maybe hang back, not get too involved, because there are many eyes watching us, I believe.
Okay, so there are many eyes watching, which means realistically, you're as safe out there as you are in here. If there are so many watching, and also, technically, by staying here, you're putting the lives of the crew at risk if there are that many people watching. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
Roll me your persuasion check.
Oh, hang on. Will we do the digital dice or will we do the physical? I'm going to do the digital one.
We're so arbitrary how we choose.
I know.
We have a table full of dice here, so does she, but we're like, no, I'm gonna go with
three.
Three.
I rolled a 1.
Oh, natural 1. She's like, well, I mean, I see your point, and I'm going to move right past it, because since I've been here, I haven't had to fight for my life. I haven't had to hide. I'm well hidden in this small contained space. I have a door I can lock. So, what if I give you the information, and you go investigate, and I stay here in the safety and the comfort of this well-armed ship full of crew that will kill anyone who comes on board that I don't recognize?
Okay, to counter your point, I have no problem taking the information and investigating. You staying on the ship is Carabash's call. If he says no, we will disguise you to the best of our ability, and myself and my colleague Gray will ensure your safety while off board.
Okay. I mean, it means I get to stay, so I guess I have no other choice. Yes, I agree to the terms. And she reaches over and she pulls out this weekly bound book that has notes all the pages kind of half hanging out, notes hanging off it.
Little post-its.
Post-its that works like, and it looks like a portable version of our murder wall, basically.
Right. Jesus.
And it's like it's a hefty little notebook, like, an A5, but that has those extra. It's one of those art college notebooks that somebody got at the start of college. This is what it looks like at the end of college.
Oh, I had one of them.
Shit.
Or like sketches that you don't do in your notebook and then go, oh shit, I should stick that in there to keep with all the other stuff.
Press leaves, all that other weird shit. Loads of stuff.
Hey, I'm feeling very attacked right now.
Color boards, mix, but it's a mixture of notes. And as you flip through it, you can see some of it's in different languages. What languages do you speak?
I speak Common and Draconic.
Yeah, there's a mixture of Draconic, Common, Elven, Dwarvish. Like it's all over the gaff. And they don't all look like written with the same hand.
Sorry, do I automatically speak Elven because I'm a dark elf?
No.
No, I don't.
No.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Also, considering your origin,
I don't speak Irish.
Yeah, there you go. There it is right there.
It's not the same.
Ooh, Fossock.
it kind of is though, if you think about it.
Oh yeah, we're all
Well, you're half tan, so I'm not
sitting here.
surprised. I love you. I love you too. We're gonna work through it.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Anyway. Oh my god.
Beautiful.
I have Irish blood. Some of Ma's
I'm
has.
Irish blood, English heart.
We're not. No, we don't bring Morrissey to anything.
No.
Oh yeah. He likes the blue line. It's not far from here.
Oh, right. So you get this like it's still burning. Fucking
Half truth that kills you.
roll D6 psychic damage. So you get this tome of like mishmash of a portable version of the murder wall with notes, but Leskar kind of opens it up and kind of highlights certain annotations. And she goes, "This is a line of investigation I was undertaking here in the city, and it's to do with a small group of smugglers who are part of kind of a cadre of 3 different crews that all seem to be traveling to the same part of wild space, and it kind of speaks of directions to a specific gateway that will list a kind of temple of what looks like a temple of Shar that's hidden in the void."
Oh, sure.
Below Shaw.
Amazing.
Sorry.
And obviously Shar being the individual that seems to be cursing you with these tattoos of sort or branding.
The individual, the fucking deity.
Yeah, the deity that is basically cursing your team. And it's kind of like, they seem to know where it is. I have not been able to glean the coordinates or the directions of how to get there. And I think interrogating these individuals would help. Also, there is a particular... I have heard word from my friend Kirith, who has unfortunately been seemingly lost or taken by something, that there is a healer or alchemist in the city on the far side. She kind of, there's a little map of that folds out of the notebook of the city, and it's like you look, it's a couple of levels up, and there's a kind of a cross, and it's like alchemist shop written in scroll, and it's they seem to have a tincture or some kind of antidote that will suppress the psychic connections that seem to be invading our minds when our defenses are down. Apparently they're available here at this shop for a fee. So
I was heading to see Leskar too, so whenever you think the journey has been long enough, I can arrive.
Yeah. So as you're kind of going through this, there is a knock on the door, and you hear kind of Gray's timid voice on the other side of it.
Hey Leskar, are you okay?
And you kind of turn, and you can open
Yep.
the door.
Yeah, I'll open the door like Gray.
You see Gray kind of poking her head in.
Oh, hi Zil.
Well met!
And you kind of see now that Zilzar is standing there with this kind of tome, and Leskar's kind of twitchy in the background, kind of, and you take in the joyous murder wall of the room. Yes, I like to kind of spread out my thoughts and take them all in piece by piece. It's calming. There's an order to this chaos in my mind. Yes. Everything has its place, and it all leads. And you see now as you take it all in, it's like these multitude of threads, names, locations. Some in Faerun, some from like back from your original start point. That move through the void. There's names of different spheres, planetoids, places, and they all seem to link in. And right in the center, there's a giant symbol of a kind of a half moon with what looks like beams of dark light coming from it, with the scrawl in red ink, Shar, with 2 exclamation points at the end. In common.
Shar. Or if you're from Dublin, Shar.
Or if you're a Gunman fan, Shar. But spelled yeah, so that's kind of laid out in front of you. You've been given the tome. Leskar has decided to stay here, but you obviously have to, as you have said, you have to go talk to Karabash.
Yeah, so 2 key things taken away from that. A group of smugglers who we're going to have to interrogate to find out the location of the Temple of Shar. And then from Kiert's investigation, there's a healer on the far side of the city with an alchemist shop who can give us an antidote for our psychosis, our psychic connections, as a result of these thaumaturgy tuts. I like the word thaumaturgy.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Was that it?
Just
I know
one of
she.
them maturgies from Offaly.
Leskar mentioned a couple of things, so they're the only two things she's given us for the minute.
For the minute.
And all the details are in this
And
book.
there's a lot, like literally a portable version of Murder Walls in that book.
I picture them being very detailed notes. Down to what people had for breakfast.
Some of it you can understand as you kind of peer through it and flip through the pages, and then a lot of it's like lost to you because it's in multiple different languages.
Yeah. But obviously I can understand the bits that she's pointed to in her journal that pertain to these bits of information are in a language I can understand.
Yes, she specifically put annotations in a language that you can understand.
Gave me little page markers.
So
Very good.
Okay, I think I will catch Grey up on the short walk from the cabin out to Carabash.
So you're going to cash me aside?
Cash you outside.
Okay.
How about that? And I'd like to have a quick chat with good old Carabash and just like, I don't think he would object to Leskar staying on the ship, but at the same time, he's in charge while Ming-Na is not here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Grey, we should go and see about getting Ming-Na back to the ship.
Yeah.
Where she will be safer and surrounded by her crew. I appreciate everything that Cognith Brockett have done for now, but better to have her safe and sound. But yeah, it's Carabash's call while she's not around, so I don't want to be disrespectful to him in any way because he's been sound AF to us thus far.
Yeah.
I
want to reassure Carabash that Leskar is not going to pose a security risk.
And if she does, how's Verona? How's the maid?
she is fine.
She's Carabash's guard dog, so if Leskar gets up to any...
Well, she is Von Breck's guard dog.
Sorry, Von Breck's guard dog.
You haven't seen her over the last couple of days, and you haven't seen Von Breck either.
Oh, interesting.
Von Breck did state to you that he wanted to come here for a specific reason, but he never elaborated on what it was.
That's true.
But he hasn't been seen. You haven't seen him actually since you arrived.
Okay.
And the last you saw the maid, if memory serves, the last you
Was
saw
when
the
we
maid
were hunting in the
was
forest.
when you were actually.
Yeah, on werewolf duty.
And
Yeah.
She actually went off into the forest, and you haven't seen
Yeah,
her since.
no, we haven't seen her since.
She, like,
I'm assuming she got back on the Silver
You
Spear.
have word that she did arrive back on the ship before you left, and it was like stated that all crew members were aboard.
Yes.
But since you have arrived here in the Flotsam, you haven't seen Von Breck and you haven't seen the maid.
And the maid and Zildara kind of had a little moment.
Yeah.
You know, Z considers her good people as terrifying as she is to others.
Sure.
But I suppose she recognized something in her, and yeah, I would be interested to see what the story is with those two. But our primary objectives now are to get Ming-Na back to the ship, and as I explained to Grey on the way to talking to Carabash, we need to go find some smugglers and interrogate them so that we can find the directions to the Temple of Shar. And also, I think we should maybe go to the alchemist shop first, which can sort out some of this psychic connection that we're having, unless you're really fucking enjoying listening to my thoughts all the time.
Well, Grey wouldn't have the best kind of mental fortitude.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to push it really. You know, let's.
You have noticed since, because you live in close quarters together, and it's only been 2 days since that whole thing happened where you've been afflicted, that it is taking you a while to kind of get used to every now and again just a random stray thought from Zilzara kind of wandering into your mind. And you have both of you give me a wisdom saving throw actually. I've just noticed on your laptop, I'm very jealous of that Larian Studio sticker, by the way, that you have on the back of your laptop.
I have friends who work there.
Yes.
12. 4.
4. As the last, and it's only been 2 days, so it hasn't happened a lot, but every now and again when Zilzara has been meditating, when you meditate and you reach out, you find yourself obviously taking everything in as you've done before, seeing the kind of the tendrils of the ship and the connections of magic. But then it's kind of like it's like a baby monitor, Grey the baby monitor. You're seeing through Grey's eyes in moments as well. So it's like, and you feel the invasion, and you can steel yourself against it if you wish, but with a wisdom saving throw of 4. It's not malicious, and you find yourself when it happens. There's an apologetic feeling that way, like you can if you wish. Again, I'm not going to dictate it to you, but if Zilzara feels that way, there is a kind of a sorry about it, and you feel that as well. But you can't help but every now and again share a thought and a moment, and it's more so in that regard. It tends to be more one way. You're hearing more of what Zilzara is saying rather than when you're connected. You hear everything that Grey is thinking. But you don't pick up random thoughts. You pick up, look, you're the receiver and you're the transmitter situation. And it hasn't been overly intrusive. It hasn't been unpleasant. It's just surprising. And you also, even though you don't sleep, when Grey sleeps, you are in the dreams as well. You're just there. You're seeing it happen as you meditate. It's kind of like you have multiple tabs open in a browser. And you're kind of seeing multiple things happening, and one of the things you're seeing is Grey's dreams.
It's like being in Wayne's brain.
It's like being in my brain, yes. Because right now, even on my iPad, I've got 12 browser tabs.
So anyway, and all of them required for this game.
So you round the corner as you're back and forth chatting, and you find yourself actually when you're having this conversation that some of it's spoken and some of it isn't. And you round the corner.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
You round the corner, and Carabash is standing at the gangplank, and you notice that there are workers from Cog and Sprocket's workshop are bringing up a stretcher onto the ship.
Oh, so we don't have to go get her.
Because Carabash has said to you that they were arranging for Captain Mignot to be brought back to the ship because of how busy they were with the upcoming race, because of demands for supplies from an artificer. Take from that what you will.
An artificer. She's still out cold though.
She seems to be asleep peacefully on the stretcher. She's a blanket over her. As you see this, she's brought up onto the gangplank and brought into the centre towards her cabin. As Carabash gestures towards her cabin and sees the two of you come round the corner and kind of looks up and gives a wave to both of you.
You just said it was workers from the shop, but not the lads themselves.
You don't see them around, but there seems to be about, like, there's two individuals, a male half elf and also a large half orc, who came from the shop that you've recognized from being there before. They're carrying the stretcher, but also guarding it are two other large half orcs.
Oh, nice.
Armored up and have weapons drawn, and they seem to be escorting this stretcher through the streets and up onto the gangplank. And don't board the ship, but stand at the gangplank, at the on the ramp, on the port, kind of blocking anyone coming towards, because there's a lot of looky-loos kind of peer in and see what's going on. So
okay, so I'm gonna approach Carabash. Morning. I'm glad to see our captain has returned. I was going to organise a trek over to the shop myself, but this saves me the trouble and the fact that she's been escorted by such fine specimens. I assume they had no trouble getting her here.
the two half orcs on the bottom of the gangplank, the ears kind of prick up and they look up as they're referred to as fine specimens.
She's absolutely being a sarcastic so-and-so.
Carabash kind of like gives well, mate, yeah, I mean, it is good to have her back, but
have they sent? Has there been any improvement in her?
Apparently she's now sleeping peacefully.
But no sign of waking
No
up.
sign of waking up. She, according to Sprocket, who has been keeping an eye and has apparently sent many. You notice now he's holding a piece of parchment in his hand.
Oh,
And
okay.
he's reading, kind of looking at it and looking back at you. And he's waving it, so apparently he has used many an incantation and has calmed her mind. But she is still somewhere else.
Okay.
Not here. Body only, I suppose. And he kind of folds the letter up and puts it into his tunic pocket, inside pocket. And he kind of starts moving towards, he kind of, as he's talking, walking and talking, following the stretcher into the cabin's corners.
I have a favour to ask. A small one. That I hope you'll be able to oblige. The individual we brought back with us, Leskar, has provided me with information on how to track down individuals who can give us the location of a temple to the goddess who is behind all this shit, and also directions to an apothecary who can help with a side effect of this shit. You may have noticed she's quite twitchy, quite antsy, to be fair, has been through a lot. Has had dear friends and colleagues be taken, murdered, and spirited away as a result of her investigation. I did try and persuade her to come with us, but her twitchy nature means that she doesn't feel safe leaving the ship, certainly not at this time. Could you see it to allowing her stay in her cabin? She doesn't even want to come out onto the ship. She wants to stay in her cabin, probably drink tons of coffee, and work on this mystery that we're all trying to get to the bottom of.
Well, let's help the captain.
I believe so. The captain, myself, Leskar, and now Grey are all in the same boat. Literally.
Well, as long as she doesn't cause any trouble. First sign of trouble.
Oh yeah.
I can't be responsible for this strain you bring on board.
I fully appreciate that. I did say to her that her staying on board was at your discretion, particularly given the fact that our captain is indisposed. I don't think she will be any trouble. I think she is trying to get to the bottom of this as much as we are. If you feel it necessary, you could post one of your crewmen at her door. But I don't think it is necessary. She's kind of in a world of her own trying to figure out this shit.
Well, keep an eye at least. Right, well, look, I've got stuff I need to do.
Same. We gotta hightail it over the far side of Flotsam now.
He pulls out another letter. This was sent to me from Sprocket. You apparently had made the agreement, as you had mentioned, about running in the relay, the pirate course, and this is your entry documentation. And he hands it over to whoever takes it.
Not it.
Just so you know, if you've got jobs to do, this is taking place this afternoon. So you've got about 4 hours.
Who else are our team members?
I don't know. It's not my problem, really.
Oh, they're probably listed here, right?
Maybe. I wonder are they the two half orcs that escorted Migna here.
Ah, let's hope they're
because
kind
it's
of
the boys from the shop who are competing with you, right?
Yeah. Hopefully they're Jonah Lomu style big lads, also able to run like a gazelle, but as opposed to the kind of big lads who normally Jonah Lomu. Sports
That's an old reference.
Yeah, he's unreal. No big lad moved like him ever again. Well, the time has come to prove that it's the fastest half orc in the West. Let's see. So, yes, we got a race run, and we got to find our teammates. I'm preternaturally excited about the race. So, as much as you want to do your homework, I want to find out who we're running with. And I'm pretty annoying about it.
Does that mean we split up?
No, I won't do that. Although we'd still be able to communicate. But no, I mean, I don't think, I know that I won't be able to like get other people to like practice. Orlin, but I just want to see who it is.
No practice montage ahead of the race.
Oh, well, you know, I'll be the
Push it to the limit. Okay, so what do you want to do at this point? You've been given a letter from Cog and Sprocket about the pirate relay today. You
relay. It's such a good kid's birthday
I
party
think
idea.
I think from Zia's perspective, she's like, I think we should definitely visit this apothecary alchemist person on the far side of Flotsam and get that out of the way. If we can get that out of the way ahead of this one's race, great. And then the two of us can...
Us one's race.
I'm not in the race.
Yeah, she's in the race.
When did Z agree to this?
It was a while ago. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's Z fully gone. Why the fuck would I want to race?
Okay.
The ultimate non-joiner, remember?
Yeah.
There was a condition. They were like, yeah, we'll help you with Ming-Na.
Oh, yeah, if you do the race.
You do the race.
Okay, I vote we go to the alchemist shop and then swing by Cog and Sprocket on the way back. Because we have to head there anyway to start the race and see our other teammates. So you said it's the far side of Flotsam. Like, how long is it going to take us to get?
It's not huge. It'll take you about 20 minutes to want to walk and get up to, you know, to the alchemist place first, is it?
Yeah.
Right. So it'll take you about 20-25 minutes to get to the alchemist spot. Through just hustle and bustle through it. You have to go up a couple of levels. So there are, as you had already previously gone through the city, you've noticed that there are kind of like pretty much steam powered elevators that bring you up and down between the different levels within the city. This floating city that is just a massive globe of hodgepodge of ship parts all mashed together. But you have these elevators that are steam powered. Some of them are arcane as well, but they bring you up and down through the levels. And you know that heading back here, you spotted there were one or two. Looking at the map that was given to you, about a 5-minute walk, there's ones that bring you up to the level that you need to be on to get to the alchemist space. Excellent. So you set out. You kind of leave the ship. You have the letter from Cog and Sprocket in your pocket.
Yeah.
Hey!
He pocketed it.
Okay. Now, so you've left the ship.
Yep.
You're heading through the town, through the city, towards the kind of like, it's like a square, one of these many squares that you find dotted around this space, and it seems to be a main hub of where people get these elevators up and down to different levels. It's like it's this particular hub, and it's like a circular area, and there are a few little like kind of food vendors put up here and there. Kind of taking the advantage of the crowds that are milling around this space. They travel up and down, selling meat on a stick and beverages and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Only calculash. The area that we're going, you know, the way in some cities, and I suppose across various different games and in general on planet Earth, there's like sections of the city that is devoted to certain sellers. So if we're going to find this alchemist, is that down where all the lotions and potions are? Do we pass armorers and blacksmiths and shit on the way? Or you know what I mean? I'm just trying, because I was suggesting to Gray that we do some window shopping on the way, but if you know.
Yeah, I mean, by all means you can venture a little bit not too far off the beaten track, but the majority of the whole thing about the Flotsam is that it's a mixture of fucking everything. So you have people trying to sell things at the most randomest of places. They'll just have
by Stations of the Cross and also Candy Floss.
Exactly. So you have like pop-up markets everywhere. People that are just like have just landed off ships with contraband or, you know, goods that they've obtained, and they're just looking to get rid of them, just to shift them.
Henry Street at Christmas.
Pretty much.
Fireworks and strawberries
Full on.
and fucking
Like
babyborns.
yapping
All
dogs,
damn bananas.
yapping dogs, and knockoff aftershave. And Brendan O'Carroll t-shirts, like, you know, like that's full on what it is. And it they pop up, but these, where you're going in particular, from what you're reading on Lescar's notes, is this is a dedicated space for alchemists, apothecaries, basically where you would go to get these type of items.
Okay.
You do pass the odd blacksmith and kind of metalwork vendor.
Someone that hasn't made that stuff but has it.
Exactly. Not too dissimilar to the previous vendors that you've met when you specifically went looking for the larger marketplaces.
Yeah.
But you do have shadier dealers who are dealing in contraband, basically.
Okay.
I take lungs, give gills later.
Yeah.
While we're walking, I'm reading my rules. I want to check in the race rules if you're not allowed juice. Because in a world of magic, how do you have feats? How do you have contests?
Sure.
Yeah.
So what do the rules say about that?
You crack open the letter that was sent to you by Cog and Sprocket as you walk, and you kind of read it to yourself, and through you reading it, again, give me a wisdom saving throw for both of you. Thank you very much.
14.
Oof. 15.
You, as Gray is reading this, you also are reading it in your head. So it's instantaneous communication of information.
Why the fuck did I sign up to this?
So essentially, it lists the kind of the from Cognitive. You just, as you can hear, it says like, "Wow, here are the general rules of what this is. There are no rules. Do what you want." So it lays out kind of.
I'm quite a moral person, but I think this pirate planet is doing something to me.
It kind of lays out kind of like there's a map on a separate piece of parchment that you unfold. It's slightly larger than an A4 sheet, but this is an A4 letter piece of parchment, and it lays out saying, "Look, there's it's all holds no holds barred. Literally, it's a fucking pirate relay. Do what you want." But it basically says this is a relay race. At certain points throughout the city, you have to go from point A to point B to point C, and at certain points there will be team members waiting for you to tag them off, and they will continue the next leg of the race. As you unfold the map, if you're doing this as you're walking, you unfold the map and it's slightly large. You're talking about A2. It details a long winding kind of track that seems to go from every level of the Flotsam through the city, over rooftops, through streets, down into dark alleyways, down into what seems to be underground caverns and underground tunnels, back up into the main streets, back up onto the rooftops, going from the top part of the city all the way down to the furthest port. And that seems to be the course. That's all the way through the city. And you see marked at different areas, different icons.
The relay points.
There's relay points, but there's also different icons. And as you look, there's a legend that kind of details what these are. And you have hazards, traps, non-magic sections. So they seem to be enveloped in cones of silence. So you cannot cast spells within a certain space. There are other spaces that seem to be like that. It's like it has a symbol of a book and it has X2. So it seems to be reading from the instructions that they've sent. This looks like that these particular sections of the map, any magical spells you use are twice as powerful. So there's multiple different variations of these rulings all the way through the route for different sections.
That's kind of cool. So like there will be sections where as magic users will be at a disadvantage, but then we'll have advantage over non-magic users.
So looking at this, I'm a bit bamboozled and I'm like, oh, Zill. I don't even need to say it. I telepathically tell him, Zill, this is quite a long track.
Do you have a bad feeling about this?
No, but I feel like I'd like to do the track myself first, and then would I be right in thinking that I'll be able, if I don't cure myself, you don't cure yourself, that I'll be able to show you the track too as I go along?
Oh, right.
I mean, you've got things to do, and I'm pretty focused on the race right now. I really care
I guess,
about this.
but do you have enough time to essentially
walk
run
it,
the track?
Well, I wouldn't
in
run
a-
it because I want to save my energy.
Well, but do you have enough time to walk the track ahead of, and bearing in
Yeah.
mind, you're going to walk it now and actually run it in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So
What I might do is, it looks like I could walk this whole thing in.
Total, looking at the estimation, to walk it would take about 2 hours.
We
From
have
your-
it.
How many relay members have we got then for a track that
As you
long?
go through the rules, you realize that you're going to be a team of 6.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's yourselves and 4 other members.
And can we tell from the rules and the information we've been given what sections of the track we'll be on?
I think we
Um,
arranged that one.
There is a listing of kind of sections, and there doesn't seem to be any designation, but at the end of the letter you see another note scrawled in a different hand, and clearly this is actually from Cog. It's like, we will meet you at the starting point half an hour before the race to assign areas.
Okay, that's too late for me. But so I'm gonna presume these guys know this place and know it well, so that's good. So they could tell me where to go and you to where to go.
Can you both give me a perception check, please? Because you're obviously focused on this particular thing. I want to see if you notice something else.
That one.
That one.
But oh no, sorry, it wasn't. It was 7.
I can do
8. A whole 8.
Yay! Don't say 8 that whole. Don't say 8 that whole. 11.
11.
That's
As
how
you're
long it took me to add 7 to 4.
as you're kind of mulling over in your head that you want to go suss out and
Yeah.
scout out the track ahead of you, the area that you're walking in, as you kind of start rearranging the map to kind of focus on the direction and fall in place where you are, you realize that you're actually not far, and you look up and you see that they're readying part of the area up ahead of you, just up a level, as part of the, seems to be in this section when the race comes through here, it'll be on the rooftops. And you notice that they are putting in place, to mark out the route, you can see that they're putting certain coloured flag points all along the rooftops, and you see workers are kind of hoisting up sections, adding ramps, adding kind of throughways and bridges between the rooftops,
Making it more
getting the space
accessible.
ready. And as you realise, they're actually marking out the route, so we will see it clearly where it's marked out. Okay, and then you see, right, well, this, and you can't see anything with that roll, whether they're adding anything magical here, or you can't see any of the pitfalls or anything might be putting in place. You just see that they're laying out the track, and it's nearly finished at this point.
Well, somebody just mentioned pitfalls, so that was helpful. Let me see. Right. Okay. Zill, I'm sorry, I'm not in the investigation until this thing is over. How would you feel about me going to talk to our teammates?
Fine.
I don't want to leave you alone, but I think you're probably.
Are you trying to say I can't handle myself
Never.
alone?
You know I'd
That's
never
fine.
say that. Yeah.
Look,
Okay.
as much as, I don't necessarily want us to split up, in this situation, the more information you can find out about our upcoming race, the better for both of us. And realistically, it doesn't take 2 of us to go see an alchemist about this potion. I will meet you at the starting point a half an hour, the same as it says in the notes there. I'll meet you there a half an hour before the race starts. We'll have a little powwow with our teammates, make a plan. You can tell me what you found out in the next couple of hours, because I feel like we had 4 hours when we were leaving the ship.
Yeah.
It's going to take 20 minutes to get to the app. So realistically, we have 3 hours before we have to start this. We have to be there half an hour beforehand.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm gonna find the
God's
folks.
speed.
Oh, thanks. Okay, I'm gonna find these 4 other folk. Are they folk? What be they? Are they humans?
There's no detailing on who the teammates are on the
Be
letter.
they
It just
angels?
says meet you. It just says meet us at the start race. But I mean, obviously the letter came from Cog and Sprocket.
Can I go to Coggins Park?
Sure. So you make your way back down to the lift as Zilzara heads off into the crowd.
Get in, loser. We're going Coggins.
And Sprocketing. And you kind of you find your way back there easily enough. It takes you about 10-15 minutes to get down the lift out. It wasn't that far from the main port, but you find your way back to them, and you stand down in front of the familiar facade of their workshop, and there is a queue about half a mile long out the door and down the street of people queuing up with diagrams. People are counting their coin. Like it's literally a smorgasbord of race-colour creed that works all along the street for about half a mile.
Jesus, it's like all those feckers queuing up to meet Will Sliney last weekend.
So, just like that, just like the line of people queuing up to meet an artist
The
or
Willustrator.
a writer.
Illustrator! Oh my god!
That's his character name in the Will Sliney Storyteller. It's the
I don't
Illustrator.
watch kids programs.
Illustrator.
I do watch kids programs,
Yeah.
You have a kid, you have an excuse.
but I just still watch kids programs. So anyway,
Yeah. I watched 3 new Pokemon. Anyway, just like that, I'm the annoying person who knows the person and just walks right by all these honest people and heads in the door. Just excuse me, I'm the friend.
Business.
you get stopped at the door. There's literally like a rope line,
Right.
and there's a large half-orc, again similar to the half-orcs that were escorting Ming-Na back to the ship. You see this half-orc clad in kind of a mixture of leather and metal armor, very bespoke, and it has the Cog and Sprocket logo on the front.
Yeah.
Quite official, and they're standing there kind of cross-armed, huge, towering over Grey. Grey is tall enough though, isn't
Yeah,
he?
I'm tall enough, 5'7", 5'8".
But yeah, so this guy's about 6.5, nearly 7 feet tall,
Right.
large half-orc, kind of broad, shaped like a Dorito, just staring down at you.
Yeah, I don't think Grey qualifies as a short king. But
No, not at
average
5
king.
inches. Yeah, and he kind of looks at us like, "Can I help you?"
Hey, just gonna have a little look here at myself. I'm checking myself
Before you wreck yourself.
before I do that. Okay.
And you do see out of the queue, people are kind of like, "Oi, take on Skip! I've been queuing here for half an hour."
I'm a worker. Hey, so I'm representing the Cog and Sprocket. I'm on the relay team. Do you know where the other members are? There's 4 that aren't me and my friend.
So, I'm sorry, what's your name?
My name's Gray Pipstrell.
Oh,
And you see him take out a clipboard, and he
I'm
kind
a
of
ringer.
takes out a clipboard, and he's like, and he takes out a pair of bifocals and just sticks them on the end of his nose, and it's just like,
Oh, I love it.
right,
Representation.
Pipstrell. Ah, yeah, you're here, Martha. Yeah, you can go on in. The bosses are in the back there, kind of working on quite a lot of orders actually, last minute. But go right on in. And he kind of moves the rope one to side, puts the bifocals back into his pocket, and then sends you on in.
Very good. So I am going to go in, and I'm going to. I don't want to disturb everybody, but I want to find my folks. So I'm gonna have to go up to the
Sure.
counter.
You know, you can hear this and smell the sound and the scent of this place. As soon as you step in through the main doors, the noise of kind of like the buzzing and the kind of the welding and just the hum of arcane energy, you feel it as a bard as well. It just sweeps through the place, and that acrid stench of kind of burnt ozone hits your nostrils, and your ears prick up and your hair in the back of your neck stands on end, because it's literally just the whole air is crackling with energy. All different types of arcana kind of mingled together, and you step in through like the usual, like the swinging doors. As you kind of step in, as a huge workshop is now, as when you were here before there was just a couple of workers, there's now multiple members of staff here within the Cog and Sprocket Artificer Warehouse, working away non-stop, sparks flying, energy pulsing. Like there's the odd explosion off in one corner. It's like it's all right. I meant to do that. It's all good. And you kind of start scanning the room to see what's going, because it's just a hive of activity. And just at the end, where that large table was, or Migna was laid out, you see kind of Cog sitting in a large chair, much larger than his halfling form will allow. He just kind of looks like a child in a high chair, sitting there, and he's kind of flipping through large kind of blueprints, and he's putting them down and laying them out, and he's kind of shouting orders to a group of mixed individuals that are beside him. There's a dwarf, there's a tall female, a half elf, there's a small kind of diminutive tiefling male. They're all just kind of mulling over. All of them have like goggles that are propped on their heads or on their faces, kind of dirt and grime smeared all over them. The dwarf in particular, his hair is kind of like a shock of white, and it's kind of pushed tightly back off his head, like something is blown up in his face, and the hair is shocked backwards. But they're discussing the blueprints and talking loudly and chattering over the din. Sprocket is nowhere to be seen.
I feel like this is setting it up for these guys aren't going to be able to get off work. Cog isn't here.
No, Cog is here.
Cog is here. Sprocket is not.
You can't see Sprocket on the main floor.
Yeah. Right. I am going to go up to Cog. I'm gonna go into the Cog lobby and ask if they can identify the other competitors.
You push your way through the bustling kind of areas, and you kind of stand up in front of Cog's desk, and eventually he notices you and looks up and he's like, oh, you're here. Yeah. What are you here for? What are you here?
Hey, so the race?
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it, but I would like to do a little bit of recon because I'm kind of new to the Flotsam. Who are the other members of the team apart from me and my friend?
Oh, and he kind of looks at the three folks standing there, and then it's like, you're looking at them, and he kind of gestures himself.
No!
And then the other three individuals. He's like,
wait, I wish to take that back. That was ableist. That was presumptive. I was presuming that Cog wasn't a natural athlete. That's not fair. Okay, so I'm gonna take back my microaggression there that I just did. Taking it back, and I'm going to learn from this in the future. Anyway, slight adjustment of outlook, and I'm like, oh good, so you all know this route, right?
well, the route changes every year.
Okay, well that's good, because then nobody will be able to do it with their eyes closed. Because it's very choppy here in the Flotsam.
I mean, technically, there is one area that you do have to do it with your eyes closed, because it's literally in pure darkness, and you have to kind of use your sensory kind of abilities to kind of get your way through. We haven't really decided who's going to be doing what sections yet. We're still kind of busy building some equipment and filling out the orders for everyone else who's joining in on the race, because there's a lot of crews this year. So,
can I help you with that if I give you myself and my friends like abilities, and you can
we already know your abilities. We kind of we copped all of that the second you stepped in through our doors. We have a kind of a thing.
I'm in safe hands then.
Well, I mean, it's the thing about it is, the thing about the race is that there's a lot of unknowns for a lot of people. A lot of people have a lot of unknowns in this situation. We've only run it once before, and our team didn't get past the first relay because I'll be honest. I'll be honest. And he kind of looks a bit sheepish, and he kind of looks at the other three who are kind of looking at him a bit expectantly. The last time we entered into the race, we had a guy who was taking part, very enthusiastic, like yourself.
Yeah.
But the first hurdle, it was involving portals. They haven't actually reappeared yet. We don't know when. We don't really have an idea when, but I've got it on good authority that there's no portals this year because they lost too many people that year.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, as far as I'm aware, it's just... You got the map, right? Sprocket sent you the map.
Yeah, it's just, I can't run holding a map, and I was gonna maybe walk my part of the course beforehand. I don't want to let anyone down. Also, I'm quite fast. I think I could be helpful.
Well, no, I don't think you need to walk the course, because there's going to be markers all the way along. You'll know exactly where you got to go.
Yeah, but, it can help.
Well, I mean, we are working on trackers. We've got a couple of different things that are going to help our team.
You know,
so
in
we
Trillium, they have races where it's just a circle.
where's the fun in that?
It's just a circle and it's marked. They still walk the course to check for the ground and stuff.
This is your
They
first
still-
pirate relay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me explain something to you. You can walk the course as much as you want. Okay, totally could. But the problem is that the course changes by
Ah.
itself. So while the map is helpful, it's not really a definite thing. It's just to give you an idea and to feel for it. So
Well, sir, I want to tell you that I'm going to do my best. And so will my friend. They're every bit as enthusiastic about it as I am, I think.
well, that's good to hear, because I mean, you really got us out of a
lied
bind, because we were two people short. Yeah, off in the distance, Zilzara's like, God damn it. But we were short 2 people, so you've helped us out. And I know Sprocket kind of traded for it. He got you involved and so on and so forth. But we're going to have some good stuff. We're really working hard on our stuff and also on the orders of the other people to make it really interesting. So this race is always one of our biggest turnovers of the year.
How important is it to you that you win?
No, you know,
I
winning
suppose
it,
if you really want to win, you close the doors right now.
it's kind of weird. It's kind of got this pirate's honor thing.
Yeah.
Is that it's not really about winning. It's more about surviving.
Okay. I
So-
can do that 8 times.
Yeah. So, I mean, not all of us have that luck, but we can't be seen to be giving out defective items. And we'll also be counterproductive of ourselves, not opening our workshop for revenue for one of the biggest events of the year. Kind of shooting ourselves in the
Yeah.
foot, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, we have the team. We're ready. We're going to be ready. We're going to be really ready. I'm not worried about that. So, it's us 5 and your friend Zilzara is going to be the team.
Okay. Well,
So,
I
are you
will-
excited?
Yes, I am. I'm going to leave you to it, and I'll see you at the start. Half an hour before it's...
Yeah, soon. It says about another 2.5 hours left.
Okay. All right, I'm going to
So-
find my friend. Bye!
See you later. So you're gonna leave?
Yeah.
So Gray leaves the Cog and Sprocket Artificer Warehouse, and we switch back to Zilzara, who you've now in this time have made your way to. And was there any other shops you wanted
And
to visit?
I can check where she is by tapping in.
Full
right?
connectivity.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. Well, give me a wisdom saving throw, both of you, to see if you have that connection still,
Oh.
given the distance, because you've never done it this far.
11. 13.
Yeah. You, as you're leaving, you get past the long line, past the bouncer at the front, and you kind of reach out, you close your eyes a bit and you reach out, and just off in the distance you can feel that kind of connection. And Zilzara, you feel that connection as well, and there's a slight relay of Gray. I take it Gray at this point is a bit more calmer about the race.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm
So you-
reassured that nobody needs to be fully researched. I'm glad that it's more ad hoc, you know. So that's good.
You feel that sense of calm, and
Well,
the
less giddy, not calm.
yeah, the worry slips away from the lack of knowledge. It's more a reassurance, and you feel you're kind of going, okay, there's something. You kind of decipher that whatever way you feel.
Yeah, seems like Gray is a little bit happier with things.
Yeah.
Um.
And just as that thought enters your head, you come out to an open courtyard. Again, one of the multitude of courtyards in this space that seems to open up for... You have, in this area, it seems to be an older part of the city.
Okay.
There are more actual established buildings here.
As opposed to little carts.
Makeshift carts and
yeah,
tents.
yeah.
These shops that are here, which are about 5 or 6 of them, seem to have been part of this neighborhood for quite some time. You have
OG Flotsam, right? here.
Yeah, full on OG Flotsam. So you notice that the architecture around here, it's like somebody strived to make it more like actual buildings rather than the remnants
piled up
of
on
parts
top
of ship parts.
Okay.
Like the buildings around here now look like that old Dutch architecture with the wooden beams, the white kind of whitewashing walls and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas previously the buildings that you've seen look like, well, that looks like the side of a ship with a door in it, like,
Yeah.
a couple of windows added in. There was a definite attempt to recreate actual cityscape here.
Yeah.
There's even some cobbled stone.
on the
Wayne, I
ground.
have a very, very important, vital to the plot aside to make to Jill. I am shipboards.
Oh Jesus!
I'm done. That's it. Sorry. I was just gonna keep wanting to say that. It's done. It's done.
It's done. She done. Sorry, you had asked me a second ago if there was anything I wanted to buy. I don't think so. Z is pretty set when it comes to her weaponry, which she doesn't fall back on very often, and she's obviously still has her magically attuned crystal that her mother gave her, and her litany of spells. I suppose she's less shiny object than Grey is, so I suppose she was accommodating Grey's need to window shop a bit. So I'm gonna head directly to the address that Leskar has given us, and see what the crack is about talking to this healer. A healer you mentioned initially, so I suppose I'm expecting them to be fairly sound, but let's see.
Drop off there.
You're following the instructions. You notice the name it comes up now, like on the scroll and the notes as you're kind of reading through it. Gimbel's Apothecary and Alchemy Shop is the name of it. Gimbell.
Oh,
Gimbel.
Lads, you want to
Gimbel.
see? We want to see what I had in my notes for Funbrae. It was like Barnbrack that I'd written. I mean, tis the season, but Jesus Christ! And then you can see me get one more letter right in every time I write it down. Like
Nice.
hearing you better
It's
every
like a
time.
game of countdown.
Gimbel's Apothecary and what was it?
And Steakhouse. No, Apothecary and and Alchemist.
Great. Is the door open? Can I just
There is light coming from like a kind of like a low, warm orange light emanating from a lot of these shop fronts, and as you step into this space, you notice that the arcane energy in the air is actually heightened in this space.
Okay.
In this whole vicinity of the city, the arcane energy is heightened, and you remember then coming from the lower levels, and obviously the issue with the power that they had down there, that the arcane levels were so disruptive down there in that section, and they were up and down the levels of kind of like that tinge and the feel in the back of your neck and up the back of your skull of when you notice arcane energy. Here it like seems to be at a steady hum.
Yeah.
Consistent, controlled, steady across the entire section of this courtyard. And you see in all of the shop fronts that you see that are old, that they all have that same warm golden glow emanating from them. It's like this interior light. The street it's well lit. Like I know it's now kind of creeping towards mid-morning, kind of towards midday, but you're in space, so you know time is irrelevant. And there are people milling about this area. A lot of people in robes. Still piratey in some ways. The odd eye patch, wooden leg, so on and so forth. But they seem to be of a more scholarly nature, if that's possible.
Okay.
As you take it all in, and you go into the shop.
Scholar pirates.
Yeah. Full ships of these motherfuckers. Just
sailing.
sailing.
Like went to do philosophy in UL.
And stole books instead of booty.
Well, there's a lot of well, actually, give me a history check. As you take all these people in, and you see these individuals that, from the rough and tumble of the docks to the area of the marketplace. 5. You're kind of looking at yourself, going, "This is a bit strange." Seeing these are obviously there's something piratey about these guys, but there's also something clever about them as well. Like you can't really.
Bonnie went around with her baps out. Tell me that wasn't an absolute galaxy brain move. Just one sometimes, but mostly both of them. And there she is, element of surprise wherever she goes. That's.
And Bonnie, they feature her in Black Sails, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
She keeps them in though at that stage. She keeps them in. I think they eventually come out, but she keeps them in for the most part, walking the streets.
Yeah.
But
So much child murder going on today.
yeah, we're in Dublin City Centre, folks, in Dublin City Comics, obviously in their office. But I don't know if you can actually hear the audio of the
I
outside
don't
world
think so.
because the delimiters are on this, so you can just pick us up. But there have been the odd child scream in the
There's
distance.
another one.
There's another one. So we'll loop it in
Someone
with the.
mildly inconvenienced a child.
Yes,
Is what happened.
That's
yeah.
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So these individuals, and there is the odd pirate going around Yar type thing, billowing blouse and striped pants and stuff like that. The stereotype is there,
Yeah.
but there's also
Where's Wally Book?
full on. But like you also have the like people in robes, long capes, cloaks that don't look like a lot of people you saw working the docks, like dock hands and stuff like that. These are more. They seem to be more kind of invested in other things.
Yeah.
But from that row, you have no fucking clue what really was there.
And also
It's
face.
so hard.
Face, yeah, don't give a fuck. And you do garner like even a female drow of your attire and look wandering these streets. Every now and again, somebody looks up and kind of looks you up and down, and then just goes about their business.
Every now and again, somebody looks me up and down, and I
Better
turn
run.
around to give them a death glare.
And they kind of scurry away. So, do you head towards Gimbals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why waste any time?
So you open the door, and it opens with a ding 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 as the bell above the door, like a stereotypical old shoppy. And you hear a bustle behind the counter, and popping from up behind it, you see this kind of frizzled-haired.
Oh, the frizzle is always a good sign.
I know.
The frizzled hair of this tall, kind of ebony-skinned tiefling, with like the hair is like a full shock of white, and the horns are kind of coming out, protruding out, and going up, straight up. It's like every part of this individual's head is just going outwards. Their hair is just out in a big puff ball. Their horns are going straight up as well, and they've got wide, huge eyes. They're just like as they take you in. Their right ear is half missing, and the other ear is like fully pierced, loads of rings through it. They're in full green garb from head to toe, all in green, which matches their large green eyes. And they're kind of taking you in, large kind of sunken bags underneath these eyes. The nose is pierced, lip is pierced. There's a tattoo up the side of their face as it takes you in, and kind of it's in the middle of holding.
Draw this person sometime, please.
They're holding a large tome in their hand, and behind them there's rows and rows and rows of large potion bottles of jars filled with unknown substances, labelled in some script you understand, some you don't. As you take in, the smell of the shop hits you, and it just smells like earth.
Okay.
It just smells earthy, and there's a sense of recognition in your mind, because being the Underdark is all mouldy and earthy and kind of that type of thing. And you kind of start taking in this space. Give me a
investigation.
Investigation or perception, your choice.
Do an old investigation. See what happens. I got a B.
She got a B.
So 22.
22. Your eyes are drawn to every individual facet of this place, and you're taking it all in the matter of seconds. You recognize a multitude of different spores, molds, and fungus that are collected around these shelves that just instantly remind you of the Underdark.
Okay.
And there's also other kind of collections of jarred creatures, body parts, just a plethora of things all on shelves. There's books that are lining certain walls, there's parchment, and that smell, earthy, musty smell, is getting stronger and stronger as you step further into the shop. It's neat, it's tidy, it's not all over, but it's very neat and very tidy. Everything is in its right place, but some of it's very old, and some of it is like, this shit shouldn't be here. This stuff is specifically from parts of the Underdark with that high of a roll that this individual should not have access to, like Menzo Baronzon level stuff, like the head city of the Drow is the home of these things, and a tiefling of this nature looking so fucking weird should not have them. This person is either very well connected or has travelled very far, very stealthily to collect these items. And they're kind of, they look you up and down, and they're like, how can I help you?
I believe you might be able to help me.
That's what I asked. How can I help you?
Yeah. I was sent here, or directed here by a colleague. who said you may stock some antidotes.
I stock quite a few.
Yeah, I can see some very suspect ones. Not quite sure how somebody of your gesturing would have acquired
This whole
them.
thing.
Would have acquired them.
I deal in many facets of the natural world.
There's gatekeeping right there.
Both here in the void and in other planes. I am well travelled. I am older beyond my obvious years. And you look at him and this dude looks fucking old. So for him to say he's older than his obvious years,
Yeah.
with that, like again, rolling off your investigation, you taking in this character now, you see that the more when you move closer to him in the orange light of the space, and that weird nostalgia washes over you from the Underdark, and how even though it's been so long since you've been there, you kind of start to take him in, and you realize that, yes, this dude looks fucking old, and he has. The closer you get to his face, his hands, which are like his hands and his arms up to his elbows are visible.
Yeah.
In his green tunic, he has beautiful gold kind of thread inlay on the tunic throughout, threaded very delicately. But you notice that he has scars and marks all over his visible skin, even his face. And you can take as you take him in, you kind of realize
Literally has been in a lot of scripts.
this dude has done some shit.
Right.
You're talking level 20 character has retired and set up a shop situation.
Right.
And because again, that higher roll. And he kind of like, I have been to many places and have gathered much. And it now serves me well. So again I ask, how
Are you familiar with an individual named Kirith?
Yes. Tall fellow, blue, green hair.
Yes.
You've never met him.
But I've gotten his description from this.
That's true. Yes. Kirith. Lovely young lad. Purchased a few bottles from me not too long ago. He recommended this place to you.
Yes. I'm currently working with a colleague of his, and it was she who recommended you the fine establishment. She and I and others have found ourselves with a very particular affliction, which I believe, and based on what I see here in your shop, you have the knowledge to maybe not eliminate, but certainly suppress. Suppress side effects from this affliction.
And what would be the affliction per se? I would need descriptions and details in order to give you the correct antidote per se. If I give you the wrong one, you might sprout an extra head, lose a couple of limbs.
Yeah. Can I roll perception just to see how, if there's any malice in him, or if he is...
You can roll insight.
Insight.
Yeah.
Why do you keep using this virtual?
13.
13. He seems like he's curious. He has a curiosity about him. He's interested in what you're saying. He doesn't seem to kind of have any malice aimed at you.
Fear either way in terms of good or bad.
No, it's kind of a neutral kind of thing.
Okay.
He seems
He's
to
got
be...
a scientist's mind.
Yeah, he's more interested in facts and the problem in front of him, from what you can tell. But with that role, you can't really sense any ill will or any ulterior motive.
Okay.
Yeah, you do. From that role, you noticed that when you mentioned Kirith's name, there was a slight kind of flicker in his eyes, and he kind of was like, there was a cautiousness about him.
Okay. You appear to be a individual of science. And I would ask that when I show you this affliction, that it stays between you and I.
I have full apothecary client privilege instilled in all of my practices. I do not discuss your information with anyone else, and if anyone comes asking, I do not divulge any information.
Good to know.
I have not lived this long and kept my wits about me without dealing in certain situations correctly and properly.
Okay. I'm gonna undo my tunic and pull it aside to show him.
Just getting excited. You see, we haven't recorded of me go, what?
Have you heard of Anne Bonny?
Yeah, I'm going to show Gimbal my tattoos.
He kind of his eyebrow kind of
Why
jumps
didn't you
up.
say tats? Just
Tats.
throw me a bone.
And as I do, I say, I tell him how long I've had them. And there are 3 individuals close to me who are similarly afflicted. And one of those, and myself, as an apparent side effect, are sharing some psychic connection, which I think we would be best served if we could suppress that, but happy to take on any knowledge you might have about this, if you'd be willing to share it, because we have come up against roadblocks, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of it, to be honest.
Interesting, indeed. Would you mind? And he kind of takes out this large it's kind of a rectangle-shaped magnifying glass.
Right.
That has multiple different lenses that kind of come in front of it. Reminds you of Ombrecht's glasses.
Yes.
That he got you to retrieve.
Yeah.
Similarly, like in that regard, to view what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of protrudes, like, would you mind? He kind of reaches forward with his long, bony fingers now, as you realise, slightly taloned. And he kind of just takes a small section of your kind of clavicle here and holds it, and then brings the magnifying up against it and moves it out, changing the lenses. I think it's... Changes the lenses again. Yes.
I also say to him, it depending on the individual. As I said, there's myself and 3 other individuals. This has manifested slightly differently. We are all of different race and backgrounds, so between myself and the other 3 people I know, it is slightly different depending on which of us you are.
And I ask you, and it's quite an important question to ask of any individual, but have you recently started to believe in another god?
No.
These markings, if I'm not mistaken, and he didn't...
I did not take these on willingly.
Ah.
These were thrust upon me.
By a curse?
I believe so.
Did somebody actually utter an incantation?
Did they utter an incantation? No.
They were just dying.
No, they were just dying. Sorry. There were no words uttered. Somebody died by my hand, and there was a transference.
Transference of belief. Interesting. When he starts to... All of a sudden, he starts to draw symbols in the air. And you see him conjure these symbols. And it's like he's making calculations, and he stops. Yes. Interesting. And he kind of turns and spins on his heels and starts taking down jars and different kind of containers that have a multitude of different kind of what look like long twigs, small mounds of burnt flesh in them, and 1 or 2 pieces of flesh that are twitching. And he starts to load them into a bowl. and he kind of mutters a couple of incantations over them, adds a bit of liquid, another dash of liquid, and then starts to grind everything together. Again, another incantation. You see that things start to fizzle and fume, and there's a kind of a small plume of smoke, purple smoke starts to rise up from it. And he's like, he starts, and then there's a kind of a small flash from his hand, and he kind of jolts back a bit, and you realise in your head as you're watching him do this, with his shock of white hair and this kind of spiky horns that are sticking straight up, you kind of imagine that his hair probably eventually at one point wasn't as puffed as this, but over years of doing this, it's consistent like shock, and because he jolts back from it, and it's like a small bit of PTSD kind of flashes across his eyes, and he's like, yes, and he takes a small vial, probably enough for about 2 servings, and he tips this kind of purplish flowing liquid that seems to have gold flecks, like it's like a purple Goldschlager.
Or that tasty mead with the gold shit in it.
Yeah, it sloughs into this container, and he shakes it about a bit, and he goes, this should suppress at least unwanted telepathic connections for you.
How long does it work, or is it
I have literally just made this for the first time. I do not have a direct idea of its length of effectiveness and impact, but you may, and again this is a disclaimer, all sales are final, but I cannot guarantee no side effects. There may be something, but it is at your own risk to take this concoction in order to block unwanted entrances into your mind.
And how much will this cost?
10 gold for the 2 servings, and any subsequent servings after the fact, 10 gold per 2 servings.
Okay.
I could write you a prescription.
I think myself and my friend will take this and see how we fare. Perhaps we will return. This potentially is incredibly helpful. I'm going to hand over the gold.
Can I ask you, and again you can tell me nothing and not disclose anything, but are you aware of what god or goddess this belies to?
Unfortunately, yes.
And
have you heard of Shar?
Have I? I don't think there's a soul alive today that has not heard of that decrepit individual of a deity and our ongoing quest to inflict pain on the universe. I would tread lightly.
To be honest, I hadn't really heard of Shar prior to this curse.
How sheltered you must be, child.
Or how much of a fuck I don't give.
And he kind of nods, and there's a slight bit of respect on his face as he does so. He kind of like.
I see from your collection you were well travelled, and there's something comforting and nostalgic about some of the artifacts you have here.
Ah, yes, I was wondering if you'd notice. Tell me, have you been to the Underdark of late?
Not for some time.
We are quite a ways from it, although many places and many planes have their version.
Mm-hmm.
A small piece of friendly advice.
Yes.
If you are to go up against Shar, try and defy whatever this is, might I suggest you seek out the followers of our sister, our counterpart. Saloon's followers fight a daily battle against her, and may be of some aid to you. Although no Saloonites live in the Flotsam, it is not a place for such a worship.
Just see like, well.
Wellity. So fucking Shar, Saloon, and Lot. Okay. Thank you for the tip. Do you know of any location we might scout for such followers? You said they're not here. We do have the ability to travel between spheres.
There are many spheres depending on where you go. You are obviously, and he kind of looks you up and down, not in a judgy way, but just kind of like looks at you and says, "You are from, if I'm not mistaken, you've travelled here from Faerun."
You're correct.
That would be one place, but also there are other spheres, other places. The gods have reached out across the plains, and the Selûnites are visible. Even on they have their own spheres dedicated and settlements within the void. I do believe, even though they don't have a settlement here, there is a Selûnite ship that travels between here and Faerun on a regular basis. I have traded with them in the past.
Oh, a ship captained by these followers? Or run by these followers?
Yes, they seek out followers of Shar to dispatch them.
Do you remember the name of this ship by any chance?
I think it's called the Moon's Light.
Yet again, I was heading for here, so whenever I arrive, I arrive.
Gimbal, you have been more helpful than I expected, and I am...
That's very high praise.
I am grateful for not only your concoction, but also your words of advice. Now I gotta go compete in this goddamn race.
The relay. Yes.
Yeah, you know Cog and Sprocket?
The Artificer and the Enchanter, if I'm not mistaken, brothers.
Yes. They are known to us, and we, myself and my companion, agreed to partake in their team in the relay. So I've got to bid you farewell and go and find my comrade. If this shit works, she says, holding up the bottle, if this shit works, we may be back, or perhaps maybe we'll return and let you know how we fared and how long it, considering you just concocted this now, I presume you might want to know the results.
Well, considering that I have an invested interest in you returning and spending more gold, let me see. And he reaches down behind it and he pulls out a small bottle about this big, filled with a kind of a glowing yellow liquid.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a potion of haste. Take it as a bonus.
Yes,
thank you so much.
I have a vested interest in continued custom. So please. And maybe we can speak of further talk of the Underdark and Faerun, because I quite miss that area. And you see the kind of the shocked facade seems to slightly melt in this. He's gotten to know you over the last 2 or 3 minutes, and allowing for the investigation, the knowledge that you've imbued on him, he kind of like is thankful for it.
Yeah.
So you have a potion of haste. You can add to your inventory. And hopefully you will survive. For, if I'm not mistaken, the last individual to take part of the relay with the brothers, they've yet to find them. They vanished in a portal incident of some sort.
Oh, that's not reassuring at all.
The relay is quite a fun event as a spectator. Quite dangerous to take part in. Enjoy.
Thank you. I'm gonna head out the door.
As you step out the door, you notice coming through into the kind of the open area here, you see Gray kind of through the crowd, and they're going to give you a wave, toe beams in the air. And you meet in the center of the kind of courtyard area, the town square or circular area of this space, and relay information back and forth.
In unison we go, I have so much to tell you.
And at that, we're going to take our break, and we will return in a couple of minutes to announce the winner of the last episode's giveaway of the large Critical Role volume tome, given to us by our fantastic sponsor, Double C Comics. Check them out, doubleccomics.ie. We also have, this month's giveaway. This is gorgeous. So, this beast of a book
It's backwards because my camera's flipped, but this is the Once and Future. It's a fantasy series by Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, and Tamara Bonvilliers. I always get that name wrong, but then it's Bonvillain. Fantastic surname.
Yeah.
So this entire collected series from Boom Studios can be yours, and we will give you the question for this after
Isn't it like
the break.
time travel and Arthurian
Yeah,
legends?
Yeah.
it's got a bit of everything. So we will
Your
see
man is
you
good at
after the
mine.
break. Look after yourselves. Howdy, folks. We're back.
Oh!
We're fed and watered, and we're gonna do the giveaway. And in all of our nattering, I should have actually had this up in front of me. But we are going to announce the winner of last month's giveaway, or not last month's, but the last episode's giveaway. So without further ado, please somebody.
Yeah.
Let's see now what we got here. Somebody roll me a D4.
I got
I
it.
have one in my hand. It's a 1.
1. Silent Suffering, which I think is Paul Fury.
Oh, Paul!
Yep.
Nice
So,
one, Paul.
and also as a point, Kim, because you were worried about your audio in the last session, because the last session the audio was all over the gaff. Paul himself did notice that you were sassing the DM. Proves that you've become a veteran D&D player.
Oh, Paul, thank you. Can you tell me what I said?
But there you go. So yes, Paul, you are the winner. I will be in touch to you to get your details for the postage, or even if you want to rearrange a collection, maybe from Dublin City Comics, of the Critical Role. I'll put a picture up on the thing here. Bing. Of the tome of the Critical Role graphic novel series. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. Now, without further ado, we have this one's giveaway. And I know it's backwards on the video because my video is reversed. So it looks like I'm actually looking directly at the players rather than looking off to one side, because if I hadn't done that, it would have been weird. But this is a
Want us
like
to
a
hold it up.
yeah. You hold it up there. So that is a hardback edition of Once and Future, which is written by Kieran Gillen. Read out the
He's a bit of a good writer, that
Kieran
guy.
is
Gillen, Dan Mora, and Doc particularly shouted out the artwork.
Yes,
Yes,
it's a
he
gorgeous
did.
book. It's a
Tamara
gorgeous book.
Bonvilliers.
Is that how you say that?
I would imagine it's a bit
Put a bit of
French.
flavour on it.
By the way, having good villain right beside each other, like lawful evil.
Yeah.
Let's call her Tamra, him, her, they. Tamra, lawful evil.
Yeah, there we go. Tamara Lawful Evil. So it's a gorgeous book. That is a collected edition. So we have just given you the names of the people who created that book. A very, very simple question. What's the creative team on Once and Future? Write in the answers below. Share the video on social media. Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, from Blue Sky. Like some of us creatives. Instagram, social media, just as long as you tag Irish Pubcast and share the video and put your answer in the comments below. We will do a draw on the next episode for the hardback edition of Once and Future for yourselves. Thanks once again to our sponsors, Dublin City Comics. Check them out at dublincitycomics.ie, or if you're in Dublin City Centre, come down to Capel Street, check out the store in person. We are here in their offices today. They're very kind to giving us the space to run our game, and they are a fantastic bunch of folks. We thank them a lot for their ongoing sponsorship. So without further ado, let's get back into the session. Where we left off before the break was you two had met up after Zelzara had been to Gimbel's apothecary, and you had gone to check out Cog and Sprocket to find out exactly a bit more information about the relay that you've
Just
now
call
been
them Cocket for short.
Pocket.
No, we don't.
No, that's not a thing.
Shout out Shaun of the Dead.
We've got rid on you.
So it's now following the break that we're going to jump, unless there's anything the two of you want to do before this relay gets going. Sing an old song. You were given up to half an hour before the race was due to start. You were to meet the rest of your team at the start point, which is at the top level, the top tier of the Flotsam. You very quickly make your way towards the nearest elevator system. Up you go to the top level, and you start making your way. The crowds are starting to gather. As you see, there's whooping and cheering. People are already literally social event of the season. There are a huge collection of different crews. You see them bearing their colours, waving their standards, and it's full representation of all teams. You're one of the few groups, while you came in on the Silver Spear, you're one of the few groups that are representing a non-ship team.
Okay.
You're a local vendor and local artisan team for Cog and Sprocket, but the majority of these teams are made up of pirate crews. Your crew is made up of the 4 artificers and yourselves. Now, for the two of you who don't know, an artificer is kind of like a tinkerer, an engineer. That's the kind of the class that they are. So they make items, weapons, all so on and so forth. Full on. So as you go to meet your group at the start point, you push your way through. You show your letter at the entry. You notice that there's a kind of a cordoned off area of makeshift barricades, and there are guards from the actual local establishment or local constabulary, made up of the pirate crews again, as you've seen before and met them in the last session. They're lining the outskirts of the start area, where you see large bunting and large standards of all the entered teams. You now notice there's about 25 in total, of teams of 6, all lined up and grouped together. You show your letter at the entry point to one of the guards, and they wave you on through. It's now the noise level here is loud. People cheering, like everyone's already well on their way to being drunk. It's this fist fights breaking out in small corners somewhere, and it's just that din and that stench of people just drinking on the streets. And it's just pouring out here.
Drinking on the streets. You're welcome. You're welcome, YouTube.
You're kind of ushered in and pointed off in the general direction. You see the standard, the Cog and Sprocket standard, floating high on one of the large kind of extension poles. That's exactly. So as you make your way forward, you see mixed in with all the groups. It's obviously the groups are thinned out here. Everyone's kind of gathered together in their 6-man teams or 6-person teams. And you make your way forward, you see your team kind of gathered together, all decked out as you see them now, in similar colours, with neckerchiefs and scarves and waistcoats. And as you approach, Cog sees you and waves and beckons you over. It's like, hey, you're here, great, right on time. And he produces 2 kind of neckerchiefs for you, wearing their colours, which is like a yellow and black kind of zigzag.
That look good on me.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a yellow and black zigzag neckerchief that he hands you both one each.
That's the colour of my fur. I'm ginger and black on the outside.
Yep.
There you go. So, they hand over the neckerchiefs.
It's
alright, I'm permanently ginger black.
yeah.
Ginger goth.
Maybe I was inspired. Ooh.
There you go.
Big
Inspired.
Kitty goth. Big kitty goth.
Inspired, or I planted it there.
Oh,
she's a witch.
Game.
Shall we burn her?
Does she weigh more than a duck? You kind of look around, you take this all in, and you see like so many different crews here. Like the next group over, they seem to be all made up of half-orcs, and they're big and they're burly, all decked out in different types of gear. Some of them have weapons brandished. Some of them have they seem to have like, one of them has a spell book strapped in a holster around their chest. Your own team, you notice that they are covered in gadgets and gizmos, every single one of them, bar yourselves. You two seem to be the only magic users, as far as full magic users, because artificers do have magic, but they seem to be solely relying on gadgets. And you can give me an Arcana check either, both of you, if you want, just to suss some stuff out.
I just noticed in my notes I was supposed to be putting +2 on my saving throws, and I haven't.
Well, there you go.
So you want Arcana? Doesn't the face really tell you everything? 7 for me.
7. Jill?
Sorry, what's that reference? What's the 7?
Strictly Come Dancing.
okay.
Wow. Fucking 8.
Did you see someone on Twitter saying if they're gonna have Doctor Who on streaming, they better have 5 minutes of Strictly before it so that it's realistic.
I have Graham Norton interrupting the start of it. So both of you tried to identify some of the equipment that your team have strapped to their bodies, and it's so shiny and new and newfangled. You can definitely sense there's an arcane nature of it, but you don't know exactly what they do. Yes, your teammates.
Oh, sorry. That was a wisdom saving. No, never mind. Yeah, it's like a real. Never mind. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay.
Anyway,
So,
carry on.
there are.
12.
You see other teams of around you. You see a full cadre of these strange-looking creatures. I don't know if either of you have seen these before. Just give me a history check if you want on this. You see these kind of sallowed skin individuals with tight 9. What do you get? 5. No, you've never seen these creatures before. You can't pull it. So they have long, elongated ears, longer than an elf's ears, but jagged, with loads of earrings through them. Their skin is kind of lizardy in type, but they've got snub noses, tight, dark freckles under large oval eyes, and they're all grouped around. They looking around them with a look of disdain on their face at everyone else. And Cog kind of looks up and he's like, yeah, we this is the first time we've let Githyanki in as this part of this thing. These are notorious for being vicious. They're honor bound, like they're definitely not to be trifled with, and they will cut you. They will cut you. Githyanki. They are known. It's like they're a warrior race. If you don't, you can tell by the look in your face that they've never really seen these before. They're spacefaring. This particular group, they only arrived in the last week into the port. It's their first time in the Flotsam, but they are not to be trifled with. And I wouldn't cross them if I were you. And you can see that they're looking around everywhere in pure disdain. They're like, we're here, and we're not going to take any shit from anyone. And it's an honor for you to be in our presence. Githyanki are basically the D&D version of Klingons.
Oh, okay.
That's essentially what they are. They're like the closest thing to Klingons in D&D. They look down their noses, which are ironic because they're quite short and stubbed.
Yeah.
Pinched. So their noses are quite short, so looking down them, they don't have far to look. But they look down their nose on all races bar their own. They see themselves as
like that.
kind of. But these are
More
they're a warrior caste.
In the same way
Yeah.
that Klingon are.
So they're kind of like a warrior caste, and you can see that these are all decked out. They're lean, skinny, made of just
Wiry
pure
little suckers,
wiry
yeah.
things, like male and female in the kind. They're all roughly the same height. There's some variation in the color of their skin as well. But these are like they're snarling, spitting creatures, like because it's like they're just hissing and stuff. And even at the distance that you're from them, they're looking around, and one of them catches your eyes, and they're just like, and they just kind of spit to the ground and then turn their back on you. And they are kitted out. They've got tight, like dark leather on the body with beautiful designs across it. Some of them have got metal embedded in the leather armor. They're all brandishing blades of different lengths, some with long swords, some with short swords. You can see some of them are not carrying any blades at all, but there's definitely an arcane gleam in their eye. So there's a mixed group of within the 6 people that they're something to be trifled. They're not to be trifled with. They're definitely a formidable group.
Okay.
You then see other mishmash of pirate crews. You do see there's one other group of traders that you see, and you can tell by the look of them, they look worried. Like it looks like they're quite green, they're young, and as you look over them, Cog kind of pipes them, like, yeah, that's the Merchants Guild from the local area, local market guild, and they decided for some reason that they thought they'd give this a go.
Oh, they've never entered before?
Yeah, it's an interesting choice on their behalf, because they're solely like, they're as what a lot of people would call landlubbers. They don't travel. They're merchants. They don't get into fights. They can hold their own if they need to, but they're not part of all of this. They don't have any experience in the void. None. So, like, apart from their trip getting here and staying here, that's pretty much it. So this is an interesting thing to see. They're the long shot. If you were betting individual and you had odds, I wouldn't put my gold on those guys. So, yeah, it's a tough one. And more cruises you see as you look down the line. Now, where in front of you is there seems to be like there's an official seems to be a member of the guard, and they're standing there, and again, clipboard, and there's one for each team. And they're kind of going through the checklist, checking the numbers, looking at your papers, looking at your letters, making sure you have a map, so on and so forth, answering any questions. Is there anything you want to go over before any of this starts?
Yeah, I'd like to walk. But I've moved on spiritually. I'm fine. So funny making sure we have maps. Like, you're not gonna be carrying it. But yeah, I'm just stretching. So, and asking where we're gonna be positioned.
I was just about to say that. Would we be right in assuming that the sections earmarked for magic users where it can double in effectiveness, are they the sections you want us to take?
Cog kind of like, I was thinking that maybe, yeah, definitely you. This section is like, you look over and he points at a section of tents, and you only see it now for the first time. The tents are all lined up off to one side, and there's a large group of guards next to it. There's one standing at each tent. And as you look in, the flaps of the tents are pulled back as the announcement starts coming over the line. It's like, please make your selections! Make your selections! Cog's like, I think in you for the double magic section, the enhanced area, you need to go over to that. And he points over the tent, and you see in the tent as the flaps are pulled open, there's a portal. He's like, you're going to step through that. It's going to bring you right to the section you need to go
sweet.
to. And he's like, how nimble and what's your ability? Like, can you move fast? Are you agile?
I'm fast, but I'm even better at dodging obstacles. I'm deft.
So, there is a section halfway that is in complete and utter darkness. Like, nobody, even with dark vision, you can't see. So,
what kind of dark is that?
it's just pure blinding dark. Everyone, when you enter this, it's a void of darkness. You cannot see. You have to use your ears and your senses to stretch out and find your way through. Do you think that'd be something you would be good at?
Yeah. We can do that.
Okay, so that's the fourth portal over there. If you go over there, they'll send you to that one, and you'll be there. You'll stand at a section that won't be in the darkness, and you'll have to go. And then when it gets to your relay, and your relay is after your relay, so you go first in the group as far as you two are concerned, and then your next relay will be to him, and then he'll go into the darkness, and then your relay is the second last one. I'll be at the last relay, because the last relay is actually it's my specialty. It's basically based around large explosions, and you got to find your way through a minefield, essentially. It's a literal minefield with mines, and you got to defuse some, dodge others, and it's like, so that's my specialty. These guys here, they've got like the basic running, jumping, climbing type of stuff. Yeah.
Are there 6 sections to the course, or do we run more than one?
It's 6 sections,
Okay,
one section per person. The problem is, if one person drops at any point and doesn't hit the relay, you're disqualified. So if any of these guys don't make it to the middle section, which is you, that's it, game over. So you may not have to run your section if these guys don't make it. You guys got any turns to look at the other? They're all just standing there kind of looking around. And one of the dwarf with the kind of the shock back hair, who's cleaner now, but the hair is still like that, he's kind of looking, he looks like he hasn't got a phase about him. He looks like he's done this before. But the other two are younger, and they're kind of like looking around worried, looking at the groups around them, looking at the Githyanki, looking at the half-orcs, and they're kind of like, what the fuck? It's like, you guys gotta make it. If you guys gotta make it, you get to her. And he points to the dwarf, and the dwarf obviously is the one coming to you. And he kind of gestures towards you. You gotta get to her, and then you gotta get to him, and then he'll get to me. So that's the way we're gonna do this, okay? So are we all good? We all on the same page?
Yeah.
All right, you can use any of your abilities or any equipment at your disposal. There's no rules here. You got to get through. That's it. You got to get from your point A to your point B any way you can. And so will everyone else. So be wary. They will try and beat you any way they can. Now, there is a suppression field in the whole map, in the whole area, across the city. So nothing is going to be lethal, as in any spells that would usually be lethal aren't going to kill you. They'll knock you the fuck out, but they won't kill you. And there's aid stations along the way, and there's retrievers too. So, in the map that you have, and he takes the map off you. And he's like, right, and he actually just runs his hand over it, and as he runs his hand and it hits the edge of it, the map duplicates. And he gives one to you, and he gives one to you. They're your markers. We can track you with these. Keep the map on you at all times. They're your markers, so we can track you magically. The kind of the people that are running this whole thing, the whole group here, and he gestures over at the guards. They're running this. They can track you. They have casters that can see where those maps are at all times. Like, you're tagged. So be wary.
Can I cast a spell, please, before she goes?
Yeah.
I'm going to cast Enhance Ability.
Right.
And I'm going to cast it at 4th level, so I get an extra person.
Okay.
And I'm going to, on myself and yourself, I'm going to choose, there's so many ways I could go about this. I'm going to go for Cat's Grace. It's advantage on dex, and it doesn't take damage from falling 20 feet or less.
What's that?
Yeah. So there's so many things I could have done based on what you said we might need, but I'm gonna go with that. So at 4th level, so that lasts for an hour. For the two of us, and we can regain 2d6 temporary hit points. If let's see, that's if I chose the endurance one, which I didn't. I went for the advantage on dex, which arguably I didn't need, but just in case. So yeah, I'm just gonna do it.
Cool.
It's done.
So you've cast enhanced abilities, and you've gotten Cat's Grace on both of you.
Yep.
So, he's like, right, okay, they're gonna start in the next 5 minutes. You want to make it to your portals, get there and wait. You shouldn't have to wait too long. Each section is about, roughly, if we're gonna do it right, we want to do it in the right time. It's not about winning here. It's about just completing it, making it through. So not many teams actually make it all the way through. And at the end, it's bragging rights more than anything else. And boy, could we use them. Like, the shop could definitely use the bragging rights. So that's why we kind of put our best players in the darkest places and the more dangerous places. So you can handle yourself, as we've seen. So, off you go. You at that one over there for your one. He points to a grey, and then you went over there at that one, with that tent there on the end.
See you soon, Zill. Got it.
So you just head off to your respective portals. And
The
Speed room, haste room. You juicing, Larry?
yeah, I'm absolutely gonna juice. I had a moment there. I'm like, there was that other concoction that we got off Grimble, but I figure keep that ability for the race at least, because it might benefit us.
Oh, the psychic link.
The psychic link.
it's so for the item part as well, just to be unaware. It's actually a potion of speed. Potion of speed is what they're called,
Right.
but it grants you the spell of haste for 1 minute.
Oh, very good. I thought I pulled the word haste out of my arm.
No, I gave you
No,
that.
you did
So
say
the problem
haste
is that until it ends, the target speed is doubled, and you gain a +2 bonus to your AC. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws, and you gain an additional action on each of your turns. That action can be used only to take. That action can be used only to take the attack, dash, disengage, hide, or use an object action. When it ends after a minute, the target can't move or take actions until its next turn, as a wave of lethargy sweeps over it. So you have to skip a turn. So you have it for 1 minute, which is quite a long time. You know, given how long, in the game as far as turn base is concerned.
Wait until
Last
I
minute,
really need it in the last.
So you will end up after that 1 minute is up, a wave of lethargy hits you, sweeps over you, and you miss a turn. So you target can't move or take actions until after its next turn. So essentially, you miss a turn. Before your turn, you can take an extra action. So it gives you 2 actions. But you have a +2 to your AC. So it'll bump you up to 17.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are we ready?
Yeah.
Grand.
Gladiators, ready.
You will go on my first whistle.
Gladiators, you will go on my second whistle.
You both step through your portals, and you feel the kind of that pulling motion as you feel like there's something from the middle of your stomach that's pulled forward, and you're dragged through, and whoop, you both end up kind of, you notice that you pop through, great, and you're up on a rooftop. And there's like a kind of another tent on one side. As you pop out through the portal, there's a tent incorporating that portal. And there's another tent on the other side. And you see a small gnome woman kind of standing in front of a desk. And there's little tankards of water and other ales and stuff like that. And little snacks and stuff. And she's like, right, okay. Step forward. Stand up here. Right, okay. When your next person, your teammate is going to come through here. And they're going to run right up. And they're going to tag you. And then you're going to go, and she points over, and you see a walkway that goes down and just vanishes into this huge, massive cloud of darkness that seems to envelop the whole rooftops of this area. And as you look around, you see other gangplanks that are coming from other sides, 25 of them in a row, as far as the eye can see in different directions. You're kind of in the center. So on either side of you, you see other gangplanks running down into the darkness from other stations similar to yours. And you see other tents set up, and as you pop through and look around, you see other contestants are popping out from their portals and all looking around, and they have other guards that are kind of directing towards of different shapes and sizes, and your gnome guard is there.
That reminds me of the time I went to the British World.
Oh, Jesus. So you're standing there and you're looking around, and off in the distance then you hear a cheer go up, and as the cheer goes up, you pop out into your portal. And you step out. It's very, very similar. Out from one tent, and you see another tent, and there's a tall, skinny male elf, shaved head. Apart from these two huge mutton chops as well that come down from the side of his head and along the side of his chin, and a big curly mustache. Very pompous-looking dude. Thin leather armor adorned with the crest of the guard, and he's leaning against the table nonchalantly. Similar setup of drinks and snacks, but you notice that some of the snacks and some of the drinks are gone and are empty. The tankards are empty, and he's kind of brushing crumbs out of his mustache. And he's leaning against the table, and he looks up from his clipboard. And he's like, "Yeah, over there." And he points at a ramp that kind of goes upwards, and you are kind of mid-level between. As you look out, you're not on a rooftop, you're not on the ground, you're kind of halfway up, and the gangplank goes out, and there's a set of runways that all seem to join up. What looks like an Escher painting, suspended in midair, and it's literally the end of Labyrinth.
That's what exactly was in my brain.
Literally the end of Labyrinth, where you see this mishmash of stairways and doorways that are impossible, and they're just there. It's like you enter into that space, all magic abilities for the next hour at Zabbles. All damage from magical abilities from the next hour at Zabbles. You won't be killed. You'll get a nasty bite. You go unconscious, and one of our runners will retrieve you.
So hang on, damage is doubled, and
Magic abilities is doubled.
abilities doubled. Cool.
So say if you're doing Ice Knife, you roll double the damage on that.
But you won't die.
Yeah. Any resistances to magic that you have, arcane resistances, doubled. So if you have resistance to ice, resistance to fire, resistance to whatever.
Resistance to being charmed.
So resistance to being charmed means resistance to being charmed. I think you. Yeah, but it's kind of like you're immune to it now.
Yeah.
Completely immune. You can't be completely immune to that. But if you had resistance to fire, you would take half damage. Now you're immune to it. That type of thing. So it just brushes off. So whatever you have a resistance to is now you're immune to that. You cannot be charmed. If you have a resistance to any elemental damage, it doesn't hit you at all. And he's like, when your fellow team member gets here, they'll tag you. You run in, you find your way to the other side using any ability at your disposal. And when you get to the other side, you can tag your final mate. That's it. That's all you got to do. Simple. Imbibe yourself with any lubrication or food if you haven't eaten. We don't want anyone fighting from their malnourishment as they go in.
Yeah.
I'd suggest the sausage rolls. They're very nice. And as he says this, again, the cheer goes up and you hear this crackle and you feel this wave of arcane energy sweep across the city as fireworks. A roar goes up and predominantly a very loud drunken roar. A collectively drunken roar. As the pirate relay begins. You're all standing there, both at your stations.
And we'll pick it up next
No, not yet.
Yeah.
So, you're both standing there, taking in your view, seeing what's ahead of you in both situations. Is there anything you want to do at this point?
Could have given us enhanced intelligence to get through these things. No. I am going to send good vibes to Zill. And I'm gonna...
Both give me a wisdom saving throw.
Okay, I've got a +2 to wisdom saving throws, which I didn't do before because I'm a genius. Thank God, 10.
12, okay.
3.
No, 10 combined with the
Okay,
+1
so
to
10
wisdom
and 3.
and the 2 to saving throws.
You are bombarded with Gray's
See how honest I am.
good thoughts and goodwill. You're not used to those thoughts in your brain,
Uh-oh.
and they overwhelm you slightly.
Oh, sorry.
And you're kind of like taken aback by it.
Okay.
You kind of find yourself actually stumbling against the table. Roll me a perception check, please.
Jesus. You fucked this for the pair of us now, but 22.
22.
I got a B.
You gather yourself quickly and you're leaning against the table.
Shake it off like a Polaroid picture is what I do.
Full on shaking off the salt of good vibes. You find yourself, look, because you're halfway up, so you're not on the ground, you're not in the sky, you're halfway up on a platform that's elevated in the side of a building. You look down and you see the cobble of the area, the streets, and there's people lining the streets and they're happy out and they're having a great time and they're looking up and they're cheering and they're like, ah, look at that person, she nearly fell. And you notice something about the ground. All of a sudden, in one section you see and there's a crack starting to form on the cobble. And the raucous group around, they're having a good time. About 3 or 4 of them kind of are like, they look around and they're looking at their tankards and they're looking at the ground, and 1 or 2 people are like, oh, what's that? What's going on? And another cheer goes up. Great, I need you to give me a perception check.
Okay. Oh, that's a 21, my friend.
21. You hear the loud cheer come up, and off in the distance you hear your ears kind of turn, and then your head turns to follow them. And you're looking off in the distance, and as far as your memory of the map is concerned, you're looking off in the distance where Zilzara is. You can kind of guess somewhere on the opposite side of the darkness. There is an ear-splitting eruption from right below where you are, where the arcane energy is cracking around this large cubist area of mishmash of stairs that are suspended in the sky. Arcs of arcane lightning crashes out of it as the ground seems to move like a large undulating wave. And the crowd start to scream and cry, and people are starting to run, and there's panic. The arcane energy from this cube starts to like move out and attack the area. Large eruptions. Some people are diving out of the way as arcane explosions erupt around them. Parts of the building are getting hit. You're kind of stumbling. The guard is now up and he's
I'm looking at
around.
the guard going, yeah, I don't think this race is going ahead, dude.
I don't think this is meant to be part of it. Hang on.
Seems like either sabotage or somebody really not happy.
And he picks up what looks like a swirled shell from his belt, and he shouts into it like a sending stone. He's like, we got problems here at the Arcane Cube. We got problems with the Arcane Cube. There's something in the ground. Is this part of it? Is this part of it? It's a bit early. We've only just started. And off in the distance, you can still hear cheers and crowds whooping and cheering as they haven't heard this yet. The ground starts to crack. There's a huge eruption. There's a large chunk of the earth, and the building already gets thrown back. And you just roll me a dexterity saving throw. You hear this.
And she's got an enhanced ability.
Yeah, you can dexterity saving throw on this.
What do I do for my enhancement again?
I'll tell you now.
You get step. Is it advantage or
You
plus
get
2?
an advantage on dex checks.
So I
It
get
also
to
doesn't
roll
take
it.
Roll it
damage
and take
from
the highest.
falling. If it isn't in...
11.
11, that's with advantage.
The highest of the 2 rolls.
Okay. The eruption, you see a large chunk of the ground floods and takes out the portal tent. boom!
Oh shit.
A large chunk of it goes through the portal and vanishes. And the portal flickers, the tent goes careening off the side of this platform. The guard ducks, yelping, "Ah!" And you manage just barely. You take 1 point of bludgeoning damage as a large chunk of the debris clocks you in the side of the head as you fall sideways. And you look, as you're now looking, hanging off the side of the platform, looking down, a large gaping chasm has opened up in the ground below. A huge crater has opened up around, and you see this large, multicolored, mutated form sloughing out of the ground. And you instantly recognize it as part of a gargantuan mimic.
Is it our friend?
As it pushes its way up into the space that it pushed through, the arcane energy streaking out and colliding into its body. As you see the energy just crackle over it, you see the smell of burnt flesh and decaying and ozone. As you look down, you see that, as you recall, Grey did heal a creature of this type of some of its affliction. As you look, you do see a kind of a hue of bright pinkish flesh, but part of it is corrupted and dark, and 10 large tentacles are kind of pulling itself up and into the space as it undulates up the side of a building. And the arcane energy from this huge cube in front of you is striking it, seemingly burning away some of the flesh, but not stopping it.
Oh, Grey, I knew that would bite you in the ass at some point.
Now, can Zil tell me what's going on?
Both of you make a wisdom saving throw for me.
My rolls have been fucking shit.
No, they're not great.
That is
Oh, Jesus, I spoke too soon. 7.
21.
21.
Hey.
You are hearing this off in the distance, and all of a sudden, like a loud shout into your mind, pushing through all of the questions. You hear Zill's voice, like as if she's standing beside you, shouting into your ear. Just all you hear is "Mimic, mimic," and it just knocks you for 6, and you stumble backwards and kind of careen into the female gnome behind you. And she's like going, "What's going on, Tilly? What's all the noise?"
I tell her that in the arcane section where my friend is, a giant mimic has appeared, and I tell her to talk to whoever and ask her, can I get to my friend?
She pulls out.
Such an idiot. Why would I go in there?
That a mimic's gonna come and tell her that.
She pulls out a sending shell and starts shouting into us like, "We've got trouble on the coast. There's been up by the arcane cube. We have a mimic, a gargantuan mimic." And she's screaming into this thing. Just as she finishes this, huffing and puffing, rising up over the ramp into your area, this white shocked-haired dwarf comes stumbling up. Blood splattered across his face, cuts across his armor. He's missing half the arcane arcane gear that he had. He's like, all right, I'm here. I managed to halt the orcs to Githyanki. There's a couple coming behind, and you look over and you see, as he kind of gestures around, and you look over to the tents, the Githyanki have now caught up, and there's people pushing through. It's like, there was a whole problem thing. We got launched. Look, just go. And he just takes his, like, look, these might help.
Okay.
And he takes 2 arcane devices, circular in size, and pushes them into your hand.
Okay, what are they?
The grenades. And they give fire damage. And he basically pushes them into your hands like, I'd say run. And he's like, and he kind of stops for a second, then he looks up, and you can see now over the darkness in the distance, because the darkness goes up so high, but you can see over at the highest towers, you see rising up through the darkness on the far side, this large, twisted form. One gigantic, bloodshot, pus-filled eye staring over the darkness as it has pulled itself up on top of the area. It is now draped itself over the arcane cube, and the energy is crackling around it. And what we thought was damaging it is now bolstering it, and is now sucking in this power. As it looks out over, what do you do? Grey runs headfirst into the darkness. It envelops you. You are complete dark. You see, as just before you went in, you see the Githyanki on your left looking at you. You see a half-orc jumping and catching up just behind you. The Githyanki gives you one look and snarls, dives in just as you do, and as it envelops you, you rush forward.
Off I go.
You've lost your sight.
Yep.
All you know is that Zilzara's off in the distance, and this creature is rising up into the sky, looking over the city. And that is where we're going to end this month's episode of Sorcery Shenanigans. Join us very soon for the next episode. Thank you to my players, Kim and Jill, Zilzara and Gray. Don't forget to enter into, you've got the thing is there. Enter into the competition. Give us the name of the creative team for once in future. Pop it in the comments below. And share the video on social media, tagging Irish Pubcast. That's important. You have to tag Irish Pubcast.
Yeah, tag us.
Until the next time, folks,
Tag
have
us,
a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Look after yourselves. Bye.
Bye.